Welcome back. This is the second day of the second Critical Concert. We're doing holiday music our way this weekend, which means we're celebrating Winter's Crest, Barren Eve, and all the other made-up holidays in a world created by a guy who does silly voices for a living. Thanks, Matt. We've got a great show for you today, so let's jump right in. This is...
That means she's not at home, but that's okay. 'Cause Dad and I are here and we're holding down home base. When mom's saving the world, that's just a sacrifice you make. The holidays are here, but they're boring. I mean, getting stuff is cool, but not the same as the one thing I look forward to this time of year. That's spending time with my mom. She always comes home bearing presents, with that crazy smile and my uncle's in tow. She pulls out a throwing star and we head down to the bar, where I get to hear the tales of a real hero. And when she's here, I get so excited. I'm happy and I guess a little sad, 'cause I know when she's up there it's a deadly affair, but she still makes it home to me and Dad. Yeah, I can't wait till I can see my mom. I learned to shoot when I was a toddler, pretending I was her fighting monsters. My mom's so freaking cool, she steals and breaks all of the rules. If I were more like her, maybe she'd let me hang around. I think about the treasures that she scored, and how adventurers I never bored. What sucks is I can't live up to the legend that I see. I just hope I can be special, so she'll be proud of me. Adventuring is full of danger. There's bad guys, there's portals, and fire. All this time I'm left behind because I can't keep up her pace. And I guess it's too much to ask the world to give mom a freaking break. But at least I know that she's not with me. She's with a family that will keep her safe. So I can take her at her word when she promises that mom will make it home to me and Dad. Can't wait to see you, Mama. I hope one day we can be a full badass family. We can sneak attack the bad guys and be Batman history. And that's the greatest present that could ever be. Mom out adventure with me. Doesn't that sound good, Mama? But for now, just spend this holiday with me.
Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So, and for those who aren't as familiar with our particular channel, Critical Scroll is a songwriter and producer who created the Critical Role / Dear Evan Hansen mashup musical, Dodie Take This Down, which you can see behind him. And Ian Capuyan is a voice actor and musician who has collaborated with many CR musicians, but who also happened to perform the role of Scanlan Shorthalt in that very same musical. Thanks again for coming on, guys. To start us off, would you mind telling us about this particular piece you made for us today?
Sure. Yeah, this is so the piece today is called, I always almost say this wrong. It's called Time with My Mom. I almost call it Christmas with My Mom every time. It is it's a loose parody of a song from a musical called The Last Song of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Ooh.
And it's sorry, not Ebenezer. I'm going to say that wrong.
That's all good.
I'm going to Google this to make sure I say the because it's not Eddie. That's his name. Yeah. So sorry. So yeah, it's a loose parody of the song "Christmas with My Dad" from the musical The Last Song of Eddie Scourge, which is in and of itself a parody of the Christmas Carol.
Wow.
Or of a Christmas
Okay.
Carol. So yeah, it's parody on parody on parody.
I love that.
Yeah, I will be completely honest. I don't know if this musical ever actually like went into full production. The reason I even found the song is I'm a big fan of Barrett Wilbert Weed, who was in Heathers and Mean Girls and different things. And there are videos of her performing this song at 54 Below, which I think we actually talked about during the last interview with where I found some of the Dear Evan Hansen deep cuts. Yeah. So the premise of that song is a kid whose parent is kind of like a famous musician, and they are lamenting the fact that they only really know them through their TV persona. Right. Yeah. And so when the idea came along to do something kind of winter Crest themed, I thought, I wasn't going to do regular Christmas music. I actually wasn't going to do anything at first either, but I heard that song and it immediately clicked in my head, like the idea of a kid missing his parent is like, who does that fit from Critical Role? That's definitely Luke, the idea of Luke missing his mom. So I just went with that idea and then had I think you're probably talking about there's a theme in this concert of a lot of people jumping in to help each other. And
it's been a big theme.
Yeah. At first I was just going to do it like demo style. Mm-hmm. And then I handed off the track to Spencer because it needs some guitar fills. And when it came back from him, I was like, this sounds too good for me to try and like do my vocals on it. And so, not in a bad way, but I thought who could sound like a little kid? And,
well, you turned to the best voice actor that I know, Ian Capuyan. Now, how do you you've got this project. What's the trick for you to get into the voice of a small child or a small character?
Well, as of recently, I've been just like messing around, living in my head voice and falsetto. And so everything has just been all the way up here. And then getting to like the mindset for the voice. I mean, I just turned 21 like 2 weeks ago. I'm on the younger side of things.
Congratulations, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah. I just also came off of the last musical that I did for school, which happened to be a musical called The World According to Snoopy. And I played Snoopy. And nice. so I was already coming off of that high energy, like youthful kind of energy. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of easy to transition that into this project, which again, I'm really grateful to be a part of. So thanks, Bryce.
That's perfect. I love that synergy and everything. Now, I really want to talk to you guys about CS, what we talked about last year, which was in progress when we last talked and now has since come out. We released it and it was very well received, in my opinion, by all sorts of critters. Dodie, Take This Down. Talk us through your emotions, CS, as that project premiered for the first time.
Oh, during the premiere, I think the emotions were mostly relief. Like, it's done. Yeah. It's out in the world. I would say I will never mix this, master it, edit it again. But of course, we know that wasn't true because we went back in and did some lyric videos.
We did.
But no, I think so. I'll tell the biggest thing I remember from that, and I kind of remember certain things from different phases of it, but the biggest thing that I was surprised by was what it felt like to actually listen to it for the first time in years without working on it. without like thinking about like, are we tweaking this? Is this right? Or is this that? And actually being able to like absorb what everybody had done coming together and just being like, man, I'm actually getting like hearing certain parts. I was like, man, I'm actually getting like it's actually affecting me. Like the stuff that we work to put in there is actually working on me, even though I, you know, like I know it's all there. I know it's all coming. But yeah, I was honestly a little surprised.
I listened to the original Dear Evan Hansen soundtrack a lot. I love that musical. It's one of my favorites. And so I listened to that one a lot. And I kept telling people like, hey, this is a thing. Like, you know, trying to bring like awareness to the whole project, which of some people actually like tuned. Like I played it on our big TV in our living room for my family when it first premiered, and they were all really excited to hear my voice. And I was right there in the live chat when it finally came out, just crying and tearing up, laughing. It's all the emotions, all of them. Just, oh man, it was a lot of love between everyone, and I really felt it, and I was just very, very excited for just everything happening.
I mean, that group of people ended up getting really close. I mean, I know that there are, you know, D&D games and, you know, other, you know, wonderful collaborations that have happened since. CS, are there any plans for future work?
To be completely honest, I have like 20 to 30 tracks and different ideas of things that I started doing while Dear Evan Hansen was in, or while Don't Take This Down was in production. Yeah. And I just kind of went, I don't know if I'll, and then, you know, so we talked like, we'll help you finish it. We'll help you do this. So I'm, that'll be the next thing is I think I'm going to get some of that 3 years worth of backlog off the table. So that'll be released probably sometime next year once that stuff. But yeah, there's a couple of things, a couple of musical references, awesome. A couple of, you know, I think one of my hearing it. Yeah, I'm very excited to be able to just put that stuff out, but also to continue, because from my side, I think that conversation really helped because I felt very self-conscious about the idea of like, you know, I did a lot of work, you did a lot of work, but we kind of signed up for that. We did. But the idea of like having people like Ian and all these other people who are contributing like marketable skills that they could be paid for to these projects for free. I was like, I feel bad asking you guys to continue to do this.
Thank you. I feel exactly the same way. And it's wild. I mean, so that brings me perfectly into what I wanted to ask Ian next. We crazy people over on our side of the internet have these stupid ideas, and then somehow you hear about them and are like, "Oh yeah, I'll work for you for free and take part in this silly project." How did you first hear about the Dodie Take This Down project, and what possessed you to donate your talents to our silliness?
Oh man, well, I had just come off of listening to the first soundtrack, the Hamilton soundtrack, which was phenomenal, by the way. I loved every single part of it. I'm a theater student right now, and I love musicals. That's like pretty much my entire life right now. And you know, on the business side of things, it's something to put on a resume as well. So it's definitely a lot of reasons. Plus, it's just like I said before, it's a bunch of critters getting together, contributing to just this beautiful project of just love for this show, for the game, for everything associated with Critical Role. And so I wanted to see if I can contribute to that in some little way.
And you contributed to it in a big way, for sure. I mean, that's a title role that actually we that's something we have in common. We took on this silly character, Scanlan Shorthalt, who's a little bit deeper than you might think on the surface. What did you do to get into the mindset of that little bit complex character?
Oh man, Well, I studied a lot, which I mean, studying, it's watching Critical Role over again. So
That's a good time. That's a good time.
And so I just watched a lot of like Scanlan moments.
Yeah.
And then especially in, I don't remember what episode number it is, but it's the episode where Scanlan leaves and he has his whole "What's my mother's name" speech.
Yeah.
Which I've actually used that in monologues for classes.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that was how I got into just the mindset of like angry Scanlan, you know, like you betrayed me, I got to get out. And that's how I got in there. And my sisters gave me so much shit for this. Oh, can I curse in these interviews?
Absolutely, you fucking
Hell
can.
yeah. Okay, bet. My sisters gave me so much shit in the beginning of that process because I would just be in my room just reciting that monologue 2 or 3 times, and I'd come down for dinner and they'd be like, "What's my mother's name?" And I'd be like, "Oh man." and so that was really their first taste of what I did for this soundtrack, and so that's really how I got into the headspace of where he was at that moment, at least.
It is the time of winter holidays. What does this season mean to you? Is there a tradition or a story that comes to mind?
I've never been a big holiday celebrator because the way, and this weirdly kind of gets into the theming of the song, actually. My family, I grew up with my family being very much on the go, which was why I immediately recognized that feeling of like a kid who's like, oh, my parents are gone. This is a time where our whole family can just rest and be in a space together and not have to do anything. So I kind of think of the holidays as like a downtime because of that in a lot of ways.
That's a wonderful thing. I love that.
That's very fair.
Yeah. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, I was raised Christian, so Christmas is big.
Yeah.
And being Filipino, we have like our certain like traditions and things. And since unfortunately, I guess depends on how you look at it. But my family, like my grandparents, my cousins and things, they're mostly in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And of course, my family's over here. So we don't really get a lot of that connect with our family members. Yeah. But they're what is it? Facebook Messenger is a powerful thing, brings families together. And up until the whole like COVID stuff happened, the rest of the Filipinos in our community, we would get together and have like a little Christmas like celebration as like a Filipino community, like there's a word in our language that means family, is kapamilya. We are all kapamilya with each other. And we all just get together. We have really, really bomb food, and yeah, we just share some songs and some dances, traditional stuff. And nice. Yeah, so Christmas has always been a very, very special thing for me, because it finally meant that it was acceptable to listen to Michael Bublé more than once a day.
He's got some good stuff. Can't knock the guy. Can't knock the guy.
No, you cannot.
Oh no! CS, you have an opinion on this? Care to weigh in on our Bublé love?
Not on Michael Bublé specifically. I love Michael Bublé. He's a great vocalist. Christmas music is my least favorite thing about Christmas time.
It can get pretty cringe.
Yeah. Well, you just got to find good Christmas music. Like I just stopped listening to whatever the hell's on the radio. I stopped listening to all of that. Yep. Like the only song that I would actively listen to that's still playing on the radio is that Snoopy Red Baron song, because I love Snoopy. I was Snoopy, so I have to be a fan of that song. Legally. But
shows up to you, bro.
But like Pentatonics and stuff is great.
Great Christmas music.
Oh yeah, fantastic Christmas music. I listened to Lindsey Sterling's Christmas album.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful musician. And recently like this past year when I was making my traditional Christmas Spotify playlist, I found a lot of really dope like Christmas like rock music, and that got me through the season, man. It was great. So
that's wonderful. Well, if you happen to make one this year, send it to me and I'll put it somehow attach it to this video.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a big
fan of the offbeat Christmas stuff. I do one every year as well. So yeah, let's get on that.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
We do that too. Unfortunately. So I love that stuff. The problem is if you walk into a Walmart or a Target,
you're done.
I can't. Yeah, like I have to have headphones on, like to walk into a public place.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me. This has been an absolute blast. If you don't mind, where can people find you if they want to know more about you online?
You can find me at Critical Scroll on Instagram and Twitter. And so I mentioned that I am going to be putting out some of my other stuff under a project name starting next year. And that will actually be... So I don't know if you'll appreciate what this name is at first, but the project name is Cantata Chaplains and that'll be on YouTube.
You're gonna have to say that another couple times because that's a lot of syllables.
It is. It's Cantata Chaplains, and I was like you. So the name, it does have a significance. It's an anagram for Cantata Pansophical.
Bro.
Because it's music that I created while I was working on that project.
Oh, that's a huge compliment. Wow.
That's dope.
Is it two words? Is chaplains the second word? And then
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's Canattopa, and then chaplains is spelled normally.
Fantastic. Well,
That's
go
awesome.
find them wherever they are. Maybe YouTube.
Yeah, that'll be on YouTube.
Excellent.
And, it'll also be on Spotify because
Excellent.
I'm working with Megami.
Awesome. Well, yeah, go check that out, guys. Hopefully it'll be out. If not now, hopefully it will be out in the very near future. And Ian, where can people find you online?
Oh man, I'm on all the social media. Real Ian is bored or Ian is bored, whichever one comes up. I totally did not steal that from Smosh. But yeah, I'm and if not, then it's just my name. That's my image, Ian Capuyan.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for joining me. So good to talk to you guys.
Thank you so much, Will.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Can you feel the veil thin as the long night begins? Do you hear the soft beat of black feathers? The pale sunlight fades as our raucous parade staggers down through the street bearing torches. Keep the fires held high, keep the drums in their time, keep your spirits and voices from faltering. Let no one sleep through the night as the winter is cresting. To the neighbor in grief, spare a cup and kind word. Lend an ear to what tales they would tell you. Let us honor their lost with each toast that we raise to their name. Keep the fires held high, keep the drums in their time, keep your spirits and voices from faltering. Let glasses be full through the night as the winter is cresting. Life is so short in the gaze of the queen, but she watches us no less attentive. The ravens guide us each safe the roads we have chosen. So keep the fires held high, keep the drums in their time, keep your spirits and voices from faltering. Let spirits be light through the night as the winter is cresting. With fires held high, with drums in their time, with our spirits and voices unfaltering, we look to the dawn as it breaks, knowing winter has crested.
Hello, Eric. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being a part of this. For those who might not know, A Rowe is a songwriter, a voice actor who composes folk and electronic music. And to kick us off, would you mind telling us a little bit about the piece you created for us?
Oh, absolutely. So the theme of Winter's Crest, when I initially got word that there was going to be a theme around that, my first thought was, nope, I don't have anything holiday related. Just nope. And then, maybe 15 minutes later, I'm like, well, okay, but then again, and it's like, okay, so I've got a couple of things. I'll jot down a verse. And 36 hours later, I had 3 complete verses.
Yes. Love it when that happens.
And then, set to the recording process. And I didn't make it as far along in the recording as I would like. If I'm strictly honest, engineering is still a skill that I am building.
Okay, fair enough.
And also what I got visually on camera wasn't.
I wanted to ask you about that. How did you create that effect? Because it's cool. It reminds me of the old 2000s video games,
So when I decided that I wasn't going to go with live playing into the camera, I defaulted to machinima.
Okay.
So I have, for quite a while, I guess since 2006, been involved with the virtual world of Second Life.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's very cool in some ways. It's very alarming in some ways. My partner, I have 2 partners. We can circle back to that. But my partner Rachel and I have been in it since 2006 or so, and we've done a lot of things in there, including some virtual performance. Which is neat.
Yeah.
The flip side is it's all user created content. Even if you go and purchase content that, buildings or decor or landscaping items, things like that, they're things that were made by users, albeit at a high skill set.
Sure.
Because it is user created, there can be some really alarming things there. It can be like the analogy I usually use is it's like having a vacation home in the Jungian collective unconscious. It's, you've got your place that's set up the way you like it, and next door there may be something you really didn't know was a thing until you saw it next door.
The internet is a wild, wild place.
It really is. And for instance, Second Life is banned from Twitch.
Okay.
You cannot live stream from Second Life. But that being said, it is also potentially really beautiful visually. And I've done a lot of virtual photography in that sense of, because you can control the lights, you can control the scenery and even build the scenery. All the stuff that appeared in that video was content made by others, but assembled and placed by me. All of the scenes and everything were something that I laid out myself.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I thought it was cool graphics, but that's a wonderful amount of work you put into that.
It's a neat thing. The sort of interior of the tavern is right off of a kind of a town square area in the sim where we reside, that has often been the site of dance parties where somebody will get a shoutcast stream and DJ. You know, we've known some very skilled DJs, and the great thing about dancing in a virtual world is that because you are just playing animations, there is nothing that you can't dance to.
And you said that you've also performed in this virtual space. Have you performed in the tavern that we got to see?
Not in that particular one. So I've performed in a couple of contexts. One is that I've done live streaming acoustic guitar and vocals.
Love that, yeah.
Which was really neat because it's a global audience. You know, yeah. The venue may have people from down the street, or it could have people on the other side of the world. You know, one of my favorite venues to perform at was run by a very lovely person in Sydney, Australia. Wow. And our, you know, I was getting up every Friday morning at around 4 a.m. So that I could catch the performer who was on right before me. She goes by Jordan Rain, Reyne, and she is awesome. She was definitely inspirational. I hadn't really figured out in my head how to approach being a rivet head punk rocker with an acoustic guitar. And honestly, if I'm strictly honest, there were punk rock songs on albums that I did buy back then that had themes that were homophobic, transphobic, sometimes getting into territory that I did not at the time recognize as racist.
This kind of long road that the punk movement has had to kind of walk in order to get to maybe where they are today. Do they still have, room to go further?
I mean, most folks do.
Fair enough.
Even people who belong to marginalized groups may have perspective on other marginalized groups that, could stand to be better informed.
Yeah.
And, I belong to the least marginalized group in all but one aspect, which is the queerness thing,
right?
Which is a thing.
It does happen. I've heard.
Yep. It is the. It is a thing that would have been helpful to realize earlier in life, but I had it remarkably easy coming out. I was 100% supported by all family, all friends, all my partners, and I feel kind of bad about that. If I'm honest.
Well, I'm really happy on your behalf because I know that that's not always the case, and to have it happen to someone, that's a good thing,
right? And that case has been made, but when you reach the point of realizing that you've been kept from some knowledge, like there are things that were kind of concealed from you, and that shell starts to crack. It can be really disconcerting, and I can understand why some folks get really alarmed and retreat back into their, and pull back.
That leads me to a question that I've been dreading asking you, but thankfully you've told me you're at least willing to temporarily walk down this rabbit hole with me. But we're spoiler warning for anyone watching. We're about to talk about politics, so Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
But your video you made a YouTube video called "Responding to That Dang Dad," and it really moved me. And I think that so much of the world's pain comes from people who are either unable or unwilling to understand someone else's perspective. And I feel like your perspective is really valuable right now with all of the issues that are killing America today. Would you mind speaking a little bit to your thoughts on the people who stormed our Capitol on January 6th?
Well, I think that there were a lot of people that thought they were doing something important and good.
Yeah.
And there were also visibly a lot of folks that were there because they enjoy raising hell. But I don't honestly know what the balance of that was. I think that there were some people there who thought, because they had been groomed and guided into this perspective, thought that they were doing something important and good and noble.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric here. Sorry to interrupt, but just want to be clear. January 6th was not good people on both sides, okay? I'm sorry y'all got conned into this mess, but even if you weren't beating people to death or roaming the halls looking for someone to lynch, fact is, you did nothing to stop it, and most of you cheered it on. That's your karma to bear, and I refuse to let you off the hook for it. Okay, back to the talk. Now, the reason I believe this is that at one time in my life, in the mid-90s, I found myself kind of falling into a similar rabbit hole. I became very convinced that the world was a super dangerous place, and that if I were to drop my guard for a moment, then any sort of bad things could happen to me or to my loved ones. And I found myself buying into a lot of rhetoric about the place of violence in that equation. Long story short, the idea that I came to believe was that violence was regrettable in a kind of a nominal lip service kind of way, but also essential because, the way I used to think of it was that with my one right, I could protect all of my other rights. And that's a thing I've heard from other folks as well. So I think it's a thing that gets around.
Sure.
But that's not true.
It's a dangerous mentality.
You could have a bunch of guns and still be passed over for a promotion that you deserve because of some trait that somebody does not care for. You could have a bunch of guns and not be shown houses in a neighborhood that a realtor doesn't think is appropriate for you.
Well said.
None of those things, and except, guns aren't going to help negotiate a better paycheck. I really credit my partner Rachel with opening my eyes to a lot of this stuff, because I was still very deep in this mindset when we first started dating. And she was very patient.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about what that was like? Was there some moment in particular that stands out to you?
It was a lot of little things over a long time.
Okay.
And, I feel like there's a part of me that wants to go on defense and be like, but you need to understand that I wasn't endorsing white power, and I wasn't, but that's part of the issue. Like, you don't have to be, you don't have to be enthusiastically supporting really visibly problematic things in order to be helping those causes indirectly. Mm-hmm. So every time I got on Usenet and argued with somebody about politics, and I was contributing to that narrative. I was contributing to those perspectives making their way out into the world. And to that extent, having been a participant in all of that, at that time, I own a share of January 6th, a small share. The people who love me would be quick to point out. But nevertheless, I own a share of that, just like I have a life membership in the NRA that I paid for. I own a chunk of whatever they do.
I think that would not be an uncommon thing in Virginia. I'm sure your loved ones have said better things than I could, but rest assured that I don't believe that your hands are very filthy, at least. What would you say to your older self if you could, travel back in time and to the 90s and have a small conversation?
Listen more.
Enough said. Yes. I have nothing more to say on that. That is wonderful. I love everything that you've just said, but that is the perfect way to sum it all up. Well, we've managed to dig a really big hole for us to crawl out of and get back to the holiday vibes. But I'm really, really grateful that you were willing to go there with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, speaking of the holidays, I have a holiday question for you. I just want to know what types of traditions, any stories that come to mind about this winter holiday time that you personally have and you're willing to share.
Well, we are a household, myself, my partner, Rachel, that I've been with, for a very long time, and our partner, Izzy, who has been with our family for a little over 9 years now.
Nice.
So we have a wide range of family. We have, the in-laws and the outlaws, as we call it. I don't think we came up with that term. But we've been super lucky in that regard as well. All of our family have been incredibly supportive of our relationship and our dynamic.
It's great.
So as far as holiday traditions, we're pretty pragmatic about our coziness and comfort. We sort of practice that throughout the year.
Okay, that's a good way to live.
There's colorful lights on in our home all the time.
Awesome.
And actually, there's a song that I wrote some years ago called "That House," which refers to the Christmas lights up all year round.
You are Caduceus.
That is
the
incredibly
Jor
flattering.
House. The Jor House. I'm just picturing, your neighborhood, in Jorhas being, the one with all of the lights.
Oh, that's great.
But anything specific to the wintertime? Do you guys practice? Do you celebrate any specific holidays? Is there any, stuff that you guys do just to mark the occasion?
Well, we are a household of atheists. So, from that perspective, we are kind of free to take an a la carte approach to holidays.
I like that.
We like getting together when it isn't a bloody pandemic. Yeah. We like getting together with friends and family. We like, having, luxurious feasting together. I would say that an important tradition, when we can manage it, is to go down to Southern Maryland, where our godkids reside, and have Christmas Eve dinner with them. That's an important one.
I love that.
And it's sort of an anchor point that we try to keep intact.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Loved ones, good food, bright lights. I think that those are all of the right points to hit. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us, Eric. It's been an absolute joy.
Likewise.
If the folks out there want to hear more from you, where can they find you?
So I am on the interwebs at Eric Makes Sounds, plural. Really wanted to get that right.
Sure.
And on Twitter, I can be found at Eric Anders Rowe.
Fantastic.
I really tried to launch one that was in keeping with the Eric Makes Sounds name and just never got off the ground. The other one already had too much traction.
I hate that. Ugh. Well, regardless, now you know. And again, thank you so much.
And thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me.
Night of magic, night of wonder, night of peace and joy. Night that we all join together to stop an evil ploy. Night of magic, night of wonder, night of peace and joy. Night that we all join together to stop an evil ploy. Erevan had brought the cold, and we were surely doomed. But unity will close the rift and let the sun back through.
Hello, boys. Welcome back to the show. In case you missed our first Critical concert last year, Andy, a.k.a. Wanderskald, and Spencer, a.k.a. Skald Smith, are two of the finest guitar players in the Critical Role community. Both have numerous albums spanning all sorts of genres, many of which are inspired by Critical Role. And to start us off, would you mind telling us about this piece that you created together?
They were like, the people were like, there's going to be another critical concert and it's going to be about Winter's Crest. And I have never been the biggest holiday guy, but I love me some holiday metal. It's fun.
Yes, dude.
It's great when it's done really well. And I also, nope, that's it. I like holiday metal. And so I was like, I could do that. I don't know what it's going to be about. So I had to study and, get back into the lore of what Winter's Crest was and about and everything. And I went to work and I got to clickety clack into Spencer and I was like, hey man, I need your aid again. I need your help. And he blessed me with his services.
And what was it like on your side of the screen, Spencer?
I got a message that said play a guitar solo, and then I did.
As it's succinct to the point. I love it.
Huge.
Now, the thing I love about both of you is you seem to bounce wildly from one genre to another. Even when you've got like a rock project, for example, Spencer, your most recent album, you're pulling from all sorts of different subgenres in order to create this piece of work. Are there any genres that are off limits or any genres you haven't tinkered with that you'd like to?
I'm not really like a country player, and it's really hard for me to feel like country grooves, which is a little strange. It feels like, because I feel like I don't have as much issue feeling blues, and there's too
definitely
far
some
of a jump
relationship there. Yeah.
But like country picking, that's like, I have a lot of respect for the players who do it well, but
absolutely,
it's not something that I ever felt capable of. So it's not something I really play.
How about you, Andy?
I don't know. I just wade into everything willy-nilly.
I love
that. Being honest, I just go. And I haven't really found anything that has shut the door on me creatively so far. So, I'll just keep trying until I do.
Is there something that you haven't tried yet that you want to?
I would like to get better at making beats, like rap, hip hop beats again. Okay. I dabbled in it at one point. I made a couple that I was happy with, but it was so few and far between, and I never really spent any time on it. I would like to loop that into my bailiwick.
Now, Spencer, are there any genres that you haven't tried yet that you would like to?
I would really like to get into some synthwave. I've been getting big into some retrowave, synthwave stuff. And part of the allure for that for me is I don't really understand how synthesizers work. So every time I pull up Serum and hit a preset I got in Splice, I'm just like, that's a neat sound. That's an even neater sound.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, you've both collaborated with each other and many other musicians in our weird little corner of the internet. Now, you mentioned that this process was pretty straightforward. Andy, you sent a track over to Spencer. Spencer, I assume you sent the solo back. Has there ever been a more in-depth process? And if so, what does that look like for both of you?
I think the Thar Follow one was the most integrated our projects have been. Where
for sure we had a full shared drive folder together, and but there was four people in total involved in that. Jono from the Discord, Rinjas did some Rinjas. I don't know what that's all. I know them by their tags.
Yeah.
But they did some mixing stuff with us too. But yeah, we had a decent amount of back and forth on that, Spencer and I.
Awesome.
I really want to go through and remix that one a little, because I've learned a lot about stuff since I did that one. And I feel like I could make it better. But that gets into the curse of that gets into the George Lucas curse.
How many times are you going to redo it? Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you as like, oh, this is a trick that I learned that I now need to reapply to this older work? What makes you want to go back to it?
I've just learned more about, because I mixed and mastered that one too. And I've done so many more tracks, and my studio's gone through changes since I did that one. Like that was, I think, the first track. Like I've got a subwoofer sitting here under my desk now, and now I know how to listen to that and what it's supposed to sound like to sound good. And I feel like just knowing what to listen for helps. Knowing what my speakers sound like in my room sounds like compared to like a car, or what it should sound like in headphones.
That makes total sense. Yeah,
that sounds way more efficient than just checking them repetitively on all those different types of speakers.
That's what I do.
No, I still do that.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's called mastering.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's mastering. I'm a master.
But speaking of returning to old projects, Andy, you recently released the second Stigander project. What was it like returning to, this project that you had, put away for a time and now are coming back to?
Well, that was a lot. That was so. By the time I had gotten it done, I figured out that I had been working on it for about 9.5 years by the time I released it, from the beginning of Stigander to the end of Stigander 2. And I would I still have some plans to like maybe try and remaster the first one. I don't know about the third. Yeah, because I evolved maybe not remaster, but add transitions, because the second album, when it was still in full form on my old YouTube, had these wonderful narrations done by Zach O'Brien in our group.
Yeah.
And I preserved those, and then I wrote some more transitions for the first album so that there's more backstory and stuff like that. So there may be just this never listened to album of just narrations on my Spotify that is just there to get put into a playlist. But yeah, that was so, it felt so good to finally get done and out.
Yeah.
Because man, I had been thinking about that story for so long. It had been in my head, and just my skill and my instrument stock, just my group of stringy boys, wasn't enough to get it done. And just over time, I finally got it out.
You mentioned really briefly, and I'd like to touch on this more, the Nine and the Nonagon, Spencer. Tell me about that project.
That project started as one song, and then as I was getting kind of revved up and ready to release the third track off the album, Pop Pop, which was the first one.
Yeah.
Almost immediately I wrote and recorded Leviathan, and then once I had 2 songs, I was like, oh shit,
this is a project.
This could be something. I could just release these as singles, but I just did a bunch of singles. And now do I have to write more? Do I have to write 9 more songs?
Well, yeah. It came out great. Was there anything in particular that was difficult? Like what was the last thing that was like, okay, now it's an album?
The last thing. Oh man. I did a lot of revisiting it because like I mentioned before, my skills were developing as I was going through it, as I was making songs and mixing and mastering them. So there would be times where like I'd get to the end of like the 7th song I'd finished, and then I'd go back and listen to like the 3rd one. I'd be like, this doesn't sound as good. So I'd be like, I need to re-record this. And it's still like that, but eventually I was like, it's got to be done. If it's not done now, it'll never be done. So I had to just throw it into the wild once I got to a certain point.
Yeah. The Nonagon song, the 9/8 time signature. What the fuck? How? It sounds like 5/4 sometimes. It's crazy. How did you do that?
The concept started as I knew I wanted it to be instrumental because I'd already finished Molly's song, which was also instrumental. And so I wanted both songs to be a little reminiscent of each other. So the melodies are a little related to each other. Mm-hmm. The keys are different, but when I got to starting with the Nonagon, it was like, how many 9s can I just hide throughout, sprinkle into this song? So I was like, the time signature is 9, the tempo is 99, almost every chord is a 9 chord.
Oh yes, dude.
And there are more, but I'd have to like go back into my notes and like look at them because I sprinkled a lot.
No, I want to talk about another collaboration that you guys did, The Fall of Aor. This is a Spencer song that features Andy. How did this collaboration come to happen? Andy, where did you come in the process?
Well, so in the almost the exact reverse of how our Wintercrest and most of our collaborations work, Spencer said, "Hey, I have this song. It's this idea of this kind of a, like, I think he called it a style cover, which is a good, I've been using that ever since. I've stolen
Love those.
That's mine now. He said, I want to do a Rush style cover about Aor. And I was just like, I couldn't type yes fast enough.
Such a good idea.
And then he sent me a full song. I think you had like chorus, you had at least lyrics or the full vocal line, at least a good part of the vocal line. And I took it and tried to put my best Geddy Lee, and
killed it too.
Impersonation into it. Thank you. I spent a long time impersonating him in a car, so
that's how you do it, baby.
See, when I impersonate Alex Lifeson in a car, it's a lot less fun because I crash into people.
Well, it was really easy because the song was so perfectly, it was Rush. I listened to it and I was like, I know exactly what to do. It was great.
It's one of my favorites.
Old guitarist, he sent it to his mom, who's a Rush fan, and she's like, she listens to it all the time.
So good.
That's where those Spotify numbers are coming from.
Yeah, that's it. It's her.
Everyone get that guy's mom on it.
You could go to petrosmom.com. No, that's not. Don't do that.
So this is a question that's going to get a little bit timey-wimey because by the time the folks at home are seeing this, you've already seen Campaign 3. You know what it's about. But we here in Winter's Time Warp, we have no idea. It's going to happen momentarily. Do we have any predictions, any theories, any thoughts on Campaign 3?
Well, I sent my class predictions to our Wednesday D&D group, which is a bunch of C-Panners.
Awesome.
And my kind of shitposty predictions were everyone is a bard except Sam. Who is a barbarian.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Oh, that's wonderful.
There's a whoever gets the most right gets point of inspiration is what's going on.
Love that. Oh, that's such a fun thing. Yeah. What about you, Andy? Any theories?
Honestly, I'm kind of taking the blank slate, like, I don't know what's going to happen approach.
Yeah.
Mostly because, as you well know, good sir, I am deep into a binge of The Wheel of Time. So
Yay!
I have not been consuming anything else, or looking at anything else. I've just been listening to audiobooks. Ooh. That's not true. I still like catch up on some weird YouTube vortex stuff, but every once in a while. But it's mostly just the audiobooks right now.
I have one final question for you boys. This is just about winter holiday stuff. You know, it's winter time. I'd love to know if there's any sort of winter holiday traditions or if there's a story that comes to mind. What does this time of year mean to you?
Well, there's a tradition that happens in my dad's family, my dad's side of the family, where it started with his dad, my grandpa, who I never met. He passed before I was born, but when they were very poor and they owned a chicken farm, they couldn't afford to do, traditional gifts for one Christmas. And that spawned the never-ending tradition of what they called goofy gifts. So it was just whatever was around with like a poem or note attached to it about, to the specific person it was for. And sometimes, it's a jab or a roast. And then other times it's very nice and sincere. A lot of candy, a lot of whoopee cushions.
Awesome.
I was told there was just a log that got passed around for a while.
That's great.
But that was before my time. So goofy gifts are a tradition I I always look on fondly.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm assuming that's carried forward even to the modern day.
Yeah, it's been going pretty strong every time my dad's family side of the family managed to get together.
So good. What's your favorite goofy gift that you've seen?
That I've seen. I don't think I could go back and do my favorite I've seen. I know my favorite I gave.
Okay, yeah.
Which is I from a sex shop got a bag of dick shaped candy.
Yeah.
And I just gave it to my brother and said, "Eat a bag of dicks."
Oh, that's so good. Well played, sir. Well played. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm not sure if you can top a bag of dicks, Andy, but are there
I don't think I can.
are there any holiday traditions or stories that you've got on your side of things?
So growing up, my mom's side of the family is Jewish. My dad's side of the family is from Indiana. They're Pentecostal Christian. Okay. He is not. So he was like real loosey-goosey with everything.
Yeah.
And so we kind of decorated a Hanukkah bush at the end of Thanksgiving every year. It was a Christmas tree. It was a fir tree. But we just called it a Hanukkah bush.
I like that.
And,
that's awesome.
And then actually we sold Christmas trees.
Oh, really?
Because I was in Cub Scouts. And so for years and years, my mom would just run the Christmas tree stand and stuff for Cub Scouts because we weren't super into Christmas. It didn't really matter if we were like taking up our holiday time.
Fair enough.
So we were hucking trees. I got a nice cracked rib one time accidentally from.
How'd you do that?
Well, I got hit with a tree. They're getting hucked out of a truck, and I walked around the corner.
Someone threw a Christmas tree at you?
Not at me. So it was being thrown out of a truck, and I walked around the corner of the truck, not declaring myself, and was,
oh my gosh,
hit by a tree. My family has a long tradition of throwing trees, as some of the people that follow me online may know. So we just huck trees, man. I'm fine.
Gotta do it.
I lived. I may have a floating rib, but I'm okay. No.
No big deal. Just someone threw a tree at me one time.
Hey, man.
That's what the holiday spirit. That's what the holiday spirit is all about.
That's Yuletide right there, buddy.
Well, guys, thank you so much for this. This has been so fun. If people want to find out more about you, where can they go? Andy?
Twitter, Wanderskald, or Linktree Wanderskald. I don't know if you just type Linktree Wanderskald. I don't think that's the thing. So Twitter, Wanderskald is your best bet, or Spotify, Andrew Burgess.
Understood. Spencer?
You can find me on Twitter at the Skald DM, and all my shit will be there.
All right, go do it. Now, before we go, Spencer, you created something extra special for us as well. Do you want to introduce this at all, or should we just run the clip?
Sure. It's an acoustic cover of one of my songs from the Nine and the Nonagon. The Caduceus song, "Clay, Dust, or Stone."
It's beautiful, guys, and it's coming right now.
What?
Moments pass, I wait for a sign as the world around me slowly dies. Fingers clasp, tea from the line. All will be as it will be, as by design. There are lines we have to cross, winding paths we all must walk. By clay or dust or stone, we must lay to rest these bones, so the earth can remember who they were. By our patron's gentle grace, we will meet her sweet embrace, and the earth will remember who we were. Patience lasts, I tend to the grove. All will be as it will be, fate not control. There are roles we all must play in life and death the same. By clay or dust or stone, we must lay to rest these bones, so the earth can remember who they were. By our patron's gentle grace, we will meet her sweet embrace, and the earth will remember who we were. Stone, we must lay to rest these bones, so the earth can remember who they were. By our patron's gentle grace, we will meet her sweet embrace, and the earth will remember who we were. By the names upon these graves, we will tend to what remains, and the earth will remember who they were. By dust or stone or clay, what is now must fade away, but the earth will remember who they were.
Hey guys, we're having a lot of fun here, but I want to talk with you about something a little more serious. A lot of people around the world don't have the resources to be able to create silly art based on a ridiculous D&D show. But the good news is, those of us who are that fortunate can use our resources to help those who aren't. My favorite part of this community is how generous and kind-hearted everyone is. So if you happen to have some extra money lying around, consider donating to Amnesty International, a trusted charity that funds human rights advocacy around the world. If you use our campaign for this stream, we'll even give you MP3 downloads of all the songs you hear this weekend. We're an international community. Let's give globally. Was that good enough? Can I stop now?
Another take. More genuine.
I'm just so tired. Brian Wayne Foster got to leave Critical Role after Campaign 2. How much more do you need me to do?
Another take. We require more content. More genuine, or we burn the wormwood.
No, not the wormwood. No, not the wormwood. Okay. Hey guys, we're having a lot of fun here today.
Friends, families, brave soldiers and defenders of this wondrous city, we gather today to celebrate, for the first time in many years, our own Winter's Crest Festival. This day that we remember, centuries ago, when Erevan, the Ice King, keeper of the far realm of ice in the elemental planes, attempted to tear his way into Kaldore, was kept at bay and sent back, packing from whence he came. In this, we also are reminded of family, reminded of friendship, and the bonds that we as a people keep ourselves and our family safe. That we rise up to the occasion to show true heroism, to stand by our beliefs, and not let the darkness swallow our hope. And by that, we're able to bring to you this day the surviving members of the Derolo family, Sondra and Percival. These two, among friends, Vox Machina, the intrepid adventurers from Iman, spearheaded our freedom from the terrible tyrant ruin that the Briarwoods has set us upon. So today we celebrate not just our joint friendships, we celebrate true heroism and give thanks that there are still people who will do whatever it takes to rise to the good of this land. May us all raise our glasses to the prosperous future of this city amongst the Alabaster Sierras, and to the continued future of the Derolo family. Hurrah! Hurrah!
Hey, Ben, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
For those who may not know, Ben Northgraves, aka Hana Music, is a composer and producer who's created lo-fi and orchestral music based on Critical Role. Now, first off, would you mind telling us a little bit about this Winter Crest piece that you made for us?
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of do something that was a little bit more into like the lore of it a bit. Yeah. So I kind of went and found where they were talking about Winter Crest, different sections of it. And I found Matt having a speech as one of his characters, just going over like all of the different stuff that was happening during that time and a little bit about the past. I'm like, this is too perfect. I'm using this.
It's really great.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted just to like bring some lore out of it that just kind of fit with everything as well. So it kind of started from there, and then I just kind of built around it, making into the lo-fi stuff.
Amazing. Now, not only do you produce lo-fi and orchestral pieces, but you also reorchestrate other critters' music. For example, friend of the show, Lily Ferfaro, has written some singer-songwriter stuff that you have arranged for full orchestra. Mm-hmm. How do you even start with a project like that? What's the process?
It depends if it is like put to a beat or not. So when Lily wrote hers, she did it kind of freehand, not to like a metronome or anything. So I had to figure out, okay, I'm just going to play in some rhythms with this just so I can kind of figure out what key it is in, and then also the timing of it. So I started there, and then I just kind of build around it and add little specs and say, okay, can I embellish here, or is there enough space for me to do something, or is Lily already doing something that I have to like make sure that's shining? So it's a focus of being able to say, okay, keep this in the spotlight, or I'm going to put a little more added added color into it to see if I can bring something more out. Yeah. So it's just a very small step-by-step progress. You just add things and says, okay, this is good. Add this little bit here and then go from there.
It didn't even occur to me that you didn't have a tempo to fall back on. That has to be so difficult.
It's a little tricky, but I think on the first one, Chase had added piano and vocals as well to it. So there's already like the guitar rhythms I could follow and his piano playing I could follow. And I think on some of them they're tempoed. I can't recall. But yeah, the first one I did, I think I had to just kind of play it in by ear.
So you were doing all of that kind of live recording. That's crazy. Well done.
Thank you.
So how does the process change for you when you're approaching a piece of music that you want to be more lo-fi in the style of the song that we just heard, or more orchestral? Like where do you approach those two things differently?
I think with the orchestral stuff, I'm coming at it at a totally different angle. Whereas the lo-fi, I'm like, okay, I'm finding a scene or a dialogue, and then I want to bring the color out of that story and see how I can embellish it. Whereas with the music or orchestrating, it's a lot more thematic and layering, if that makes sense. Although lo-fi has a lot of layering in it as well. So often what I'll be doing is saying what is already here in the orchestration and how do you enhance that, or not even enhance, but like bring it out more, versus creating something that's chill and just kind of groovy with the lo-fi. And then
you mentioned something that I want to dive more into, both with the lo-fi stuff and with Lily's songs. You mentioned picking moments that you want to bring color out of. Can you explain that more?
Yeah. So like, I think I don't even have to say this. Lily's music is amazing by itself.
I mean, absolutely.
100%. It's just like, I'm just trying to see something she's already made and see if I can add tiny bits of my own music elements to it, right? Same with Critical Role. They tell a fantastic story by themselves. They don't really need me to make a lo-fi out of it for it to be amazing already. So it's just like, as a musician, I like thinking of music a lot as storytelling, as well as, ways to express myself. And with music, it helps me a lot more when words don't really work properly. So when I'm taking a moment, I'm thinking, what does this sound like if I was to put this to a score, or what does it sound like if it had a backing track a little bit more so? And I think a few other musicians do that as well, but it's just something I want to try and take it from here to here if I can. Oh, you can't see my other hand. So it's just a lot of like, how does this feel like in my head? And how do I bring that to life as a musician?
Yes. I get what you're saying exactly. Now, we've finally landed on the crux of the matter, Critical Role. How did you start getting into it? And what do you love about it?
Everything, to answer that second question. I got into it. I think I had a friend who was like, hey, let's all play in D&D. And then the game never went anywhere. But he was like, yeah, it's okay. I've played some other games.
Good.
Yes. But he's like, okay, this is what you can do for characters. And back when the first campaign was going, they had those little character intros, like explaining their backstories a tiny bit.
Right.
Yeah, I've done some introduction pieces of lo-fi as well to, I think, Grog and who's the other one? Percy. And I hopefully will do more. But that's where I was introduced, just like someone saying, this is what a character can be. And then after that, I was in university for music. And I was in my second year, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. Maybe it's 2016. Anyways, somewhere in those 3 years, I was just like a music student with 8 classes or whatever, because music's crazy. And so I was just like, I need something to just watch when I'm in between classes, because I'm going crazy with these like 12-hour days. So I was like, let's check out that Critical Role thing. And I think when I started watching from the beginning, they were in the Briarwood arc.
That's a good one.
It's a very good one. I didn't catch up till a while, but it was just something I could watch in the off time that was like very just soul enhancing, I think is the best way, just because they're great people on the show. I was like, this is just a wonderful way to help myself too as a musician just grow, watching these voice actors like bring things to life just with their mind, because we kind of do that as musicians, right?
Yeah.
We just kind of take something out of our head and then we make something out of it. So
I mean, that's art, right? That's art.
Mm-hmm. So it was very inspiring just to say little things come to life and you can be as creative as you want.
Yeah. Now, this is a little timey-wimey. The people watching this will already know what we're about to talk about. But as we are recording this, Campaign 3 starts tomorrow.
It does, yes.
How are you feeling? Do you have any thoughts, predictions, theories?
Oh, I would love... I've talked to this with a few friends. Like, there's certain things I think would be really cool, but I'm not sure. I know Sam said he's leaving Liam to choose it again.
Yes.
But I was watching a video I saw online and they were going through every moment they mentioned what they were going to be doing. I think Sam said originally like a cleric or a barbarian.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm guessing he's going to do something totally different, like a sorcerer or something, which would be...
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. I personally really want him to be a wizard, because it mirrors the whole, he's stealing Liam's classes.
Yeah. I just want Laura Bailey to be able to play whatever she wants. That's all I really want.
Yes. So to completely change the topic, I want to know about your name, Hana Music. Where did that come from? What does it mean?
It's a good question. It came from when I was like 2 or 3, I think. It was like a pet name at where I live. So growing up, I was always Benny Hana. That was my nickname.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So it just kind of became my moniker online. I just went with Hana just because I was like, it makes sense and it fits. And then my name came from when I was born. So
as most do.
most do. Some people pick them, but
now fast forward to where you are now. You are also an educator.
A little bit, yeah. I'm teaching a little bit.
There's a chance that some musicians might end up listening to this. What's the best piece of advice that you could give to your students, or that you have accumulated in your experience to any musician?
Just don't give up. Do what you love and find what works for you. Like, I grew up in a musical family, so I had a lot of support going into music. But for some people, I know it's harder. So you just have to say, what do I want out of this music? It doesn't have to be professional musician. You can just say, I just want to learn to play a little bit of piano or a little bit of guitar, and just fulfill that if you can, right? And even if it's like a money thing, sometimes I know that's hard too. It's just find where you can like find a smaller instrument maybe and just start there. I think it's just dedicating to what you want to do and seeing if you can just play around with it. Because music, it is like, again, you can just sing.
Absolutely.
You can just bring that out too, right? So just perseverance is always the biggest thing. I've always seen very talented people who, don't put a lot of effort into it and they're just naturally musical and then they just let it slip away. But the people who are dedicated usually go the farthest with it because they love it.
Well said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned you come from a musical family. How did that start for you? What was your first instrument?
Percussion. So drums.
Oh, nice.
Now I'm a clarinet player.
A natural transition.
Naturally, yeah. I have 3 older siblings, and then my mom also played guitar a ton when I was a child.
Awesome.
She was from, I'm in Canada, and she was on the East Coast, so they're very musical up there. And then she came to the West Coast where I am now. So she played music for us. My sister, my eldest sister, she's 7 years older than me. She's perfect pitch. And so she's a huge jazz musician. So
good.
Us younger ones under her, we kind of followed her footsteps as she was going through music. And so she played trumpet, piano, and pretty much anything she wants to, because why not?
Awesome.
And then My older brother played tenor saxophone. My younger sister played guitar mostly and a little bit of saxophone. And so I was like, oh, I should play something no one else has played yet.
Yeah.
I'll play the drums. And then I started it. I was like, maybe not.
So what was it about that instrument that didn't click for you?
Maybe it was just like the non-lyrical element of it, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Like I love percussion stuff, but it you can't like play a melody as much. Well, you can with like malleted instruments, but that was later down the road, and I wasn't there yet. So it's just like, oh, it's just drums. Yeah. So I was like, what's another instrument no one's played yet? Oh, clarinet, that's fun, and I have one available to me because of X person. So I'll try that. So that's where I've been, and then I play saxophone a little bit now, and then I play virtual instruments via piano, but I'm not very good at piano.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah. So, and then there's always things I want to learn too, like guitar and more piano.
Yeah. So what's the next step in addition to learning new instruments? What do you want to do orchestrally? What do you want to compose? Is there a plan? Do you have a project you're working on?
There's always projects. I think it's easy enough to not have projects. I love to make like an educational video thing on music.
Oh,
just like for theory stuff.
Okay.
I have 100 plans of, I should do this for music. And then it never happens because that's how projects work.
It just, yeah.
Yeah, they go where socks go. They just disappear. And then like as a career, I'd love to get into film scoring or game scoring. Nice. That's kind of the big project. Yeah. I'm going to be working on that. And then in the meantime, just teaching here and there as kind of like a back support. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, also it's really good having level-headed, kind people in the teaching fields. It makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
So, yeah. Well done.
If a teacher can make a difference, for sure. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Well, I've got one last question for you.
Yes.
Obviously, it's holiday time here. What does this wintertime season mean to you? Do you have any traditions, or is there a story that comes to mind for our Dimensions version of the winter holidays?
Right. I'm super blessed that I have a super close family that I can spend time with. So we're always like my larger family, instead of just like my immediate family, we get together and usually spend time with each other, which is always a blessing that I can do that still. So COVID's a little bit harder right now, but we're all vaccinated now, so we can finally start to do that. Because I know last year's a lot trickier. So
yeah. You've been doing okay through the pandemic stuff?
I have been, yep. Luckily, I'm a homebody anyways.
That
so
does
it's like
help.
I've been practicing. Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a total joy. If people want to know more about you, where can they find you online?
I think I'm Ben_Northgraves. I think we'll bring it up or something. At Twitter. And then, YouTube, I'm Hana Music. I have a second channel called Benjamin W. Northgraves, which I don't post much there, but if I ever do that educational stuff, that's probably where it'll be.
Roger
in the
that.
future.
We'll keep a lookout for that. And until then, enjoy whatever comes next. Thank you again.
Thanks again.
Make a wish with special care.
Winter veils thin before us.
Offerings and heartfelt prayers.
Gods above will hear our chorus.
Bless the fate we celebrate. The frost fell locked away.
And once a year we winter's crest to keep the cold at bay.
Wrapped a gift beyond compare.
Winter veils thin before us.
Shout their praises in the square.
Gods above will hear our chorus.
Bless the fate we celebrate. The frost fell locked away.
And once a year we winter's crest to keep the cold at bay.
Heat the hearth with tinder fare.
Winter veils thin before us.
Creatures of the frost beware.
Gods above will hear our chorus.
Bless the fate we celebrate. The frost fell locked away.
And once a year we winter's crest to keep the cold at bay.
Thank the gods for blessings shed.
Winter veils thin before us.
Joy and bounty everywhere.
Gods above will hear our chorus.
Bless Yes, the fate we celebrate, the frost fell oft away.
And once a year we winter's crest to keep the cold at bay. And once a year we winter's crest to keep the cold at bay. And once a year we winter's crest to keep the cold at bay.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. For those who may not know, Kelli Butler, aka the Opera Geek, is an award-winning opera singer, a voice actor, and and you are a Twitch streamer. Meanwhile, our Morgan Slade is a songwriter, game designer, and creator of Critical Role's sea shanties aplenty. Now, Morgan, you're also a huge part of why this second Critical concert is even happening in the first place. So on behalf of everyone who's involved, on behalf of everyone watching, thank you, man. And on behalf of my free time, fuck off.
I am very sorry.
Now, would you mind getting us back on track, Morgan, by telling us first off about this piece of music you wrote?
Yeah, sure. I did a thing, and thankfully, a wonderful human got a hold of me and said, "Hey, want to do a thing?" And
that's not entirely accurate. The phrasing was, "Do you want to do a thing? Because I can't write music."
Wait, what?
I can't write music.
Well, but oh, okay. Well,
the only thing I ever wrote was for my rather truncated master's degree.
Okay.
Because I had to write a fugue, and thankfully the professor was very old and didn't realize that the fugue was dun 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 dun. Dun.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's so great.
I'm really bad at writing music.
Well done. So,
sorry,
okay.
This is why you can't have me on. Okay. Sorry.
What are you talking about? This is the scoop. I love this. You mentioned to me before we started recording that you wrote this with Kelli in mind. So how did that happen?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do something for this, but I wasn't sure what. And it just kind of very serendipitously connected where Kelli and I touched base. And as soon as I knew that you were in, everything kind of started falling together. And I knew that I wanted this to be like the kind of Winter's Crest carol that kids could sing and kids could learn. And then like the adults would take the main verse and bring everyone together with the power. And the chorus is like super simple and easy to bring people together with. And that was kind of like the initial kernel of an idea. As soon as I knew that Kelli was on board, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to be like the rompous chorus under Kelli's beautiful voice. And it's going to be just a fun, big old time.
And it was.
Next year, I'm going to make you write a madrigal.
Please do.
I'm just be right back. I'm just going to Google madrigal.
You know what a madrigal is.
I would
know what a madrigal is, and if you don't, you're just about to get a whole bunch of links after this.
Is there? No. Everyone, please spam Morgan's Twitter with madrigals.
Yes,
I'm game. Let's do it.
So many.
So Kelli, you get sent this song. What's your approach when you're not writing the music? You get this song sent to you. What do you do first?
Well, Morgan specifically, and I'm calling you out here, specifically was like, I want to use your low voice and not your high notes. And so I was like, oh boy, gotta warm that back up. Yeah, because I always have my high notes. That's like the bread and butter. Mm-hmm. Even though I have a very low speaking voice, my high notes are what stay.
Okay.
But because I originally wanted to do musical theater, I actually have pretty decent range, chest voice and everything else for somebody that sings my rep in opera. So I was like, all right, I'll take this challenge. And I just sat in here. My husband kept opening the door and he's like, why are you singing holiday songs?
Well, you said this was actually a question that I was going to ask you. You started wanting to get into musical theater. How did you transition to opera?
Well, my voice kind of made the decision for me.
Really?
The voice gets bigger. And unfortunately, so did I. And there are height limits, or at least very strong suggestions for women in musical theater and men, but usually women. They share costumes.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm 6 feet tall.
Oh, jeez.
So I can still do it. So, it's fuzz in my room. Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Like I still love singing musical theater. I actually jumped at the chance a few years ago. A local theater brought me in to do Lady of the Lake and Spamalot. And I was like, yes, please. But so your voice gets bigger. The range kind of sets itself. So you can train your voice to do more like extra, not octaves, because that's way too many, but just to stretch your voice with an extension, basically.
Okay.
A really good example of that is Colm McGinnis.
Oh, yeah.
So you can train your voice to really stretch in both directions, but the foundation really has to be there. And so my voice just decided, no. We're going to go sing opera. And I grew up with it. And my dad had a degree in opera performance. So I grew up listening to it.
Awesome.
So I love it. But if anybody's hiring for musical theater, 100%.
Okay. Morgan, I also have heard that you've got an acting background in addition to your music.
Yeah, that's
where did that transition happen for you?
I fell into it when I was 10. There was a TV show in Winnipeg that was shooting. It was one of the first ones that ever shot in the province in like the mid 90s. It was called My Life as a Dog. And I went in and auditioned for the lead character, sat down in the audition, and they said, do you have any questions? And this 10-year-old kid looks up at them and goes, yeah, I haven't really done this before. And this kid's not really me. Does he have any nerdy best friends? And they laughed and went, how about you just read this first? And I found out a couple years later that the role that I did get, the nerdy best friend, was written in because of my interaction with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because kids don't know to be afraid to ask her things.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just kind of fell into it and did some stuff while I was growing up as a kid. Moved out here to Vancouver to try to make it a real deal and just couldn't break in. So that's kind of on my back burner now while I try to, fulfill my creativity elsewhere, like this saving grace.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you stumble on music?
It's something I've always been into. I was writing songs in high school that I was never brave enough to like share or didn't really know how to like turn it into an actual thing. But it was kind of always in my back pocket. And I just love messing around and doing fun parodies on my own and stuff like that. And it was actually like really seriously, honestly, Critical Role that finally like pushed me into being like, hey, I can make a song about this.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to be grateful for that.
Now, when you're developing your opera subclass, where did the inspiration come from, and what did that process look like for you?
It was a joke. It was a joke. It was
As
literally
all
a
good
joke
things
tweet.
Cheers, I love it.
Tweet because I was annoyed, and I know that the conceit is, as it were, the voice is automatically assumed that the bard is proficient. But really, because I didn't go study all this stuff, and or even better, the people that try to hire me, not so much anymore between the pandemic and between me saying, the people that would try to hire me to sing like a full wedding for $50 because I didn't have an instrument to upkeep. So basically it turned into this kind of jokey thing where I was like, why isn't the voice listed as an instrument?
Yeah. Yeah.
That should be a proficiency. And, then I started listing all the extra skills that an opera bard would have, which Hannah Rose managed to work in. We get, when you choose the College of the Opera, you get 4 extra languages, including exotic.
Makes perfect sense.
Including exotic. I did not put in what my husband suggested, which was do it for the exposure as a skill.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. I'm glad that didn't make it to the final cut. You kind of had the inspiration and she turned it into mechanics. Is that the process?
Well, so it was more, she said, we can do this. And I was like, I don't know how. And she's like, well, you have all of these creative ideas and I have the mechanics. So put it together.
Yeah.
And I was amazed because when it released, I was actually where there was no cell phone coverage.
Okay. Oh no.
And then I was driving back and my phone starts blowing up. My mom's like, Kelli, open up Facebook. And I never open up Facebook. Right? Who opens up Facebook?
Please.
And like Fort Worth Opera is sharing it.
Yo.
West Coast opera companies are sharing it.
Yo.
Yeah. And like part of me is going, that's nice. It's really cool that you're like, oh, look, opera's being made cool by this person. How about you hear me sing?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's ironic to me that all the 15 years I was trying to break into opera and my geek crap is what made me get noticed in opera.
That's
if only I
insane.
Known mm-hmm.
But it's also kind of beautiful. It's kind of wonderful in a way. Now, in terms of the mechanics stuff, Morgan, I remember distinctly a conversation that we had talking about building D&D mechanics and creating, subclasses and that kind of thing. And you said, hey, take a step back. The ideas are all wonderful, but turning those into mechanics are actually very difficult and hard to balance. What was the most difficult thing for you when turning all of these wonderful ideas into an actual playable character?
Well, I knew it's kind of a hard sell on just the fact that you have to, your DM always has to be on board when you bring in indie content for sure. Of
course.
But there's a little bit of, extra work that you're asking them to do for this concept to work. They have to be like, oh, okay, well, I have to hide this thing. And I also have to figure out who it belongs to. And I have to lead you there. And hopefully it's somewhere that's on the beaten path. And if it's not, well, how are we going to get you there? So there's a little bit of extra work involved. And so I spent a lot of time with randomized tables and just clarity of assurance in the subclass to the DM. You're gonna, in order for this to be fun for your player, you're gonna have to do a little bit of extra legwork. Here's a whole bunch of ideas that you can just grab and go, or you can take them and pick them apart and use what works for you. And so I tried to make that massaged as much as possible on the DM side because it's there.
You actually thought about the DM?
I did.
Shocking.
I did. I did. Oh, and it was hard. It was the hardest part because I want to focus on the fun of finding the thing.
Right.
But the all the extra work to make it happen. I didn't want people to pick this up and then go to their DM and say, "Can I use this?" And them to go, "What do you mean? That's
so much work. Why would you do this to me?"
I wanted it to be an easy little plug and play, or if they use it, it can be a launch pad to other ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So making sure that works was super important.
For us in the moment, Campaign 3 has not come out. Do we have any ideas, any predictions?
I think it'd be interesting. Of course, I want more Gilmore. Gilmore is one of my favorites. I can't remember who I was talking about with it the other day. No, it was on my stream because I was like, spoiler alert, for Campaign 1, turn off for the next 30 seconds or whatever. Goes here too. I remember I was cleaning my bathroom, listening to one of the final episodes, the one where they come into the room and they don't know who they're fighting and they almost kill them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as Matt started describing them, my husband had to come in because I threw the sponge and I started yelling in my bathroom.
Wow.
Because I was like, you can't touch him. You can't. He's.
Do you have a particular favorite, Morgan?
A favorite at the table
from Critical Role?
You want me?
Like a character?
Okay, thank God.
Campaign 1, campaign 2. No, choose a favorite person.
Favorite villain is the chair.
We'll clip it and we'll tweet it at them. We'll tweet it at all of the others that you
heard
didn't
it
pick.
here first, folks.
Right.
Morgan hates Matt Mercer.
Oh no! It's been a good run, folks. What can I tell you?
Honestly, don't worry. Nobody listens to anything I say.
I did say that I still think about the dude from the Crossroads that Grog accidentally gave 2 wishes.
Oh,
I saw your tweet about that.
Right? And for all we know, he's still got a wish in his pocket or spent it on something wild. But I think about that person every once in a while. I want to know what happened.
That's a great take. It's a great take. Well, I have one last question for the both of you. I just want to know, it's the winter season. Do you have any sort of winter holiday tradition, or if there's a story that comes to mind, what does this time of year mean to you? We'll start with you, Morgan.
Sure. I haven't like officially celebrated Christmas in a long time. It's really just been like Winter Presents Day. Kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will always have a soft spot for like 6 or 7 years ago. There was a huge snowstorm in Vancouver, like on Christmas Eve. Just like on Christmas Eve, everything is shut down. We stocked up the fridge the day before in anticipation, and everything was shut down. You couldn't get anywhere. But we lived 2 blocks away from a Toys R Us. And it was, somebody will be able to like timestamp that and be like, nah, you said the wrong number of years, Morgan. And for that, I will applaud you. But it was the Christmas that the Wii came out.
Okay.
Yeah. And a pallet arrived at that Toys R Us, but because of the snowstorm, all the scalpers and stuff hadn't shown up to scoop them all. And so we were able to walk over, get a launch Wii, and then spend the entire Christmas like stuck in snow.
Amazing.
Just playing like Wii bowling.
That's so great. Oh, that's wonderful.
I love just like, so that feeling of being stuck inside with a fire behind you and a pup on your lap. And then just like, it's one of the few times of the year where I can kind of let time go away.
And how quiet it gets outside with the snow.
Yeah.
That real muffled quiet.
Yeah.
Do you have any traditions or memories that you'd like to share with us, Kelly?
So we didn't do Christmas for a long time. And then when we moved to that piece of fuzz, when we moved to this apartment, we live in a pre-war building. So we've got like 12-foot ceilings. Ooh. And so for the first time, we started to get Christmas trees. And my husband's rule was we need a real one.
Okay.
So we would get the Christmas tree. That's decorated. But the tradition really, he recreates German Christmas dinner for me from scratch.
Oh, wow.
Like he makes me Stollen. He does the roast.
Oh, dude.
He heats up the Glühwein, which is better than any material present, honestly. And unfortunately, we can't do part of our tradition because they discontinued Tab. But the other tradition is we watch Scrooged and try to keep up with Bill Murray's Tab and Vodka. We definitely don't make it. But every year we watch Scrooged on Christmas Eve. And Christmas Day is the German Christmas dinner. Christmas Eve is our very, very learned New York tradition, which is Chinese takeout.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve.
Amazing.
100%.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you both so much for joining me. This has been an absolute treat. If people want to know more about you, where can they find you? Kelly?
I am at the Opera Geek, pretty much everywhere fine beverages are sold. Nice. I am so called because I am a geek who happens to be a professional opera singer until I took a pandemic to the gigs and haven't recovered. But yeah, you just follow me at the Opera Geek on Twitter. All my links are there.
Perfect.
So yeah.
And Morgan?
Yeah, I'm not an opera geek. I am a geek of sorts, but you can find me at Morgan Slade on YouTube, on Twitter, on Insta, all those places. And you'll be able to even search up my name on the DMs Guild for a couple of fun little supplements if you're looking for weird and funky things too. I'll see you around.
That's it for day 2 of our second Critical Concert. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to check out our Amnesty International fundraiser if you're able to do a bit of charitable giving this holiday season. Either which way, we'll see you tomorrow for the third and final day of this Critical Concert.
You're trying to kill a white dragon, just like the ones we used to kill, where the mansion's hidden and half-elves listen to hear wing beats in the snow. You're trying to kill a white dragon with every hit you and we might. May your days be merry and bright, and I hope we all survive this fight.